Okay, this is video 2. In this one, we're going to start by talking about the engineering design process. There are 5 steps to the engineering design process. We want to observe, brainstorm, compare, make, and repeat. So these are the 5 different steps for engineering design. So first off, brainstorm. This is based off what is needed to win the game. Every year VEX makes a new game, so we want to, for this current year, what do we need to do to win this game? You need to understand the problem. There will be several problems. How do we get the robot to move? How do we get the robot to score points? How do we get the robot to pick up the object? So there's going to be a lot of things that we need to understand. Define the problem. So we want to be able to give a specific definition for each individual problem. For example, our robot needs to travel 12 feet in 1.5 seconds. That would be defining the problem. Okay, the next step is brainstorming. So once we've understood all of our problems and we've defined them all, now we need to brainstorm. So we want to create ideas for the game obstacles. Okay? The next part is to do research. There are several places online that can help you with your designs. This is a very unique competition where people tend to share a lot. So do your research. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. See what else is out there. See if there's something that you want to try to reproduce. And then finally, you want to be able to explain what the design will do. All right, the next step is to compare. This is where you get back in with your team, and you want to work with your team to choose the best design. So you may have 4 or 5 designs for the drivetrain alone. Well, you only need one drivetrain, so work with your team and, don't argue. Well, argue, don't fight, but try to figure out which one would be the best design for your drivetrain. The next step is to make. This is where you build a prototype. Build a prototype. Don't build an entire robot prototype. Prototype maybe the throwing mechanism. Prototype the lifting mechanism. Prototype the drivetrain. Don't try to prototype the entire robot. Then you want to test it. And you want to test it multiple times. Yep, does it work? Does it work as you intended it to? Now, we may not have the materials to do this, but generally you want to build multiple prototypes. For us, that'll mean disassembling and reassembling, seeing if we can make it better. The final step to the design process is to repeat. This is called iteration. And basically, you want to repeat steps 1 through 4 until you're happy with your design. Imagine if Apple would have stopped after the original iPhone. If they would have made the first iPhone and said, you know what, this is perfect, we're done. I mean, that first iPhone really wasn't that great of a phone. So it's a good thing that engineers continue to repeat. They continue to refine and make things better. Okay, now, because there's a lot to the engineering design process, we want to document everything. So we have our design documentation. So, when solving a problem, everyone's going to follow a process similar to that design process, even if you do it subconsciously. So designers must determine what degree of detail and documentation is needed for their specific process. Now, many designers are tempted to try to do everything in their head to speed up this process. However, a more formalized process will produce better results. So if you try to do everything in your head, you will make mistakes, you will forget things, and you'll have an inferior product. So that's where the engineering notebook comes in. It's simply a record of the design process. It's kind of like a diary, and it's just something that you keep track of everything that you've done, and write down your thoughts and what worked and what didn't work. There are many different formats. I will be giving you a rubric for the engineering notebook that the judges at this year's contest will use to grade you with. But there are some things that you need to have in it. First off, daily entries. So this is something that you need to do every single day. A description of what you built and why you chose to build it. A description of any changes you made and why you made them. If there's any math that you did, you want to include your math with diagrams. And then finally, this is where you get to use your cell phones, pictures of your progress. You always want to include some sort of visual method to show the judges how your robot has changed over these months. So, the engineering notebook, it should serve as a roadmap so that if an outsider were to look at your notebook, they should be able to follow your design process, understand the choices you made, and end up at the same results that you did. That is the purpose of an engineering notebook. All right, this concludes video 2.